Good day. GE with the word here. Well, the Lord has brought us to a new year, 2023. And so far, I've had a parotid gland infection, I've had Bell's palsy, a sinus infection, and now I have COVID. But the question for each of us now is, what are we going to do? What are you going to do with the new year? Same old, or are you going to step out of what you consider your safe place? I believe the story in Matthew 14, verses 22 through 33, is a challenge to all of us to step out on faith with Jesus, to do things that we've never done before, to go to places we've never seen before, to say things we've never said before to people we have known and to people we do not know. I want to tell you the story of Matthew 14, 22 through 33 briefly. I encourage you to read it. Jesus had just fed the 5,000, sent the disciples in a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee, and gone to pray by himself. Sometime during the night, as the disciples were rowing, dark now, remember, a rough storm came up with the wind against them. They were afraid of capsizing. They were scared. Somewhere between 3 and 6 a.m., Jesus came into their view, walking on the water. And some of them thought they were seeing a ghost or a spirit until Jesus spoke to them and identified himself. Now Peter, headstrong and impulsive, yells out, "Lord, if it's you, let me come to you on the water." And you know what happened. Jesus called. Peter walked on the water until he began to notice the high winds and waves, and he began to sink, calling upon Jesus to save him. Jesus did rescue him and then chastised him for his lack of faith. Now, I believe we can learn 4 great truths from this event that will encourage and help us throughout the coming 2023 year. The first truth is that Jesus may confront you during your hard times. That's in verse 24 and 25. And in fact, he probably will confront you during your hard times. For the disciples, it was dark. They were rowing hard and getting nowhere. They felt alone. They were scared. But here comes Jesus. And he was there on a purpose for Peter and the others. And Jesus is always there in your most difficult times for a purpose. The second truth is that the confrontation may scare you. Oh, Peter was scared. The other disciples were scared. They thought they were seeing a ghost or some kind of spirit. But what we need to understand is that confrontation with Jesus is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to experience Jesus as never before and to experience his power in our life. Jesus came striding into their troubles. And there was a longing in Peter's heart. We read in verse 28, "And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water." He had a need. He wanted to be with Jesus. And maybe there's a longing in your heart, a need that can only be met by meeting Jesus in a very difficult situation. The third truth is that the confrontation is simply a call to come to Jesus. In verse 29, Jesus says, "Come." And he said, "Come." That's all it was. There was no show intended. Just come. And anytime we step out with Jesus, it's a miracle, and it shows us that new things can be done. Jesus said, "Come here," and Peter was changed and walked on the water. Yes, for a short time, but he walked on the water. Now, the fourth truth is a warning. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, "Lord, save me." That was Peter. He looked around, he saw the waves, he felt the wind, and he got scared. And he called out to Jesus, "Lord, save me," as he was beginning to sink. You see, the moment Peter took his eyes off of Jesus and began to dwell on the bad things around him, he began to sink. And so will you. This is a warning to us. But Jesus was there for him. It says in verse 31, "And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him." And he always will be there for you. To conclude, my friend, I want to ask you, are there storms in your life? Well, here comes Jesus. Don't let it scare you. You know that you have a need for him. And he says, come here. His hand is out and his arms are wide open, and he will always be there for you. May God bless and guide you this day and in the days to come.